Welcome to Team Perry's Step Out of Line podcast, featuring co-hosts Perry and Lori Finkelstein. Together, they explore, meet, and share inspirational stories with guests who have made a positive impact in today's world. This podcast resonates with our hope to make this world a better place one step at a time through love, acceptance, and uplifting conversations.
Musician Charles Ray. My big question to you is, when your parents named you, did they have a really great sense of humor, or did they have such a love of music they just wanted you to embody this name?
Okay, this is actually great to set this record straight once and for all. It's actually my family's name. My legal name is Charles Ray III, and I'm actually the fourth in the line of men named Charles Ray in my family name. So my great-great-grandfather's name was Charles Ray. He named his son Jesse. Jesse named his son Charles, who named his son Charles, who named his son Charles, and that's me, Charles Ray III. So it's actually Ray Charles that is infringing upon our name.
So did you have a nickname? Because there are a lot of Charles Rays in your life. Did you have a nickname growing up?
Growing up, so when I was a baby, they called me Baby Chucky.
Oh.
And, in Memphis, I lived in Memphis and grew up in Memphis until I was 24 years old. Everyone in Memphis calls me Chuck. So beyond that, I just go by Charles.
All right. So Baby Chuck, are you a fan of the Rugrats? Because it's around the time when they were big and they had Chucky.
Big fan of the Rugrats. I was I heavily identified with the plight of the Chucky character.
So we really want to know, our audience wants to know, what kind of instrument do you play and how did you get into it? Did you happen to, some musicians fall in it by luck and the hard work comes along with it, and other people have worked their entire life until they get to a point where now they've made it. So what's your journey been like as a musician?
So it's kind of happenstance. The school system I grew up in, at sixth grade in middle school, the kids essentially have a choice between band or choir. And it was presented to me as two choices. And I chose band. Well, band, choir, or orchestra, three choices. I chose band, and really, I wanted to play saxophone, but there are way too many saxophone players, and I couldn't make any sound on the clarinet. So it was either going to be percussion or trumpet, and there are only a few guys playing trumpet. So it was happenstance. I just chose trumpet. I just walked over and picked it up.
So who discovered you? Who did the teacher realize, hey, this kid, Chuck, is really good at the trumpet? I mean, is that what happened, or you just loved it and then you just continue to play throughout the years?
My career, the foundation of my career was built really from a love of trumpet. I wasn't really an outstandingly talented trumpet player per se. I had kind of an affinity for music. I was really good at music theory. I could pick out the notes. I could tell you what a scale was. I could tell you what chords were being played. But in terms of the physicality of playing the instrument, I had quite a difficult path. I continued through high school and college, and really just the sheer competitive nature of music combined with a love of music is what kept me going. But it was actually quite difficult balancing the difficulty of music with my enjoyment, because I wasn't a naturally talented trumpet player. I had to find other ways to shine and stand out.
So how did you shine and stand out?
So in particular, so I went to school for music, went to college for music, jazz studies, and that decision really was catapulted by the fact that I took the AP Music Theory exam when I was a junior in high school, and I got the highest score you could get. And when I practice trumpet, trumpet, people really like to hear those loud high notes and those really fast musical figures, those really fast runs and licks and stuff. I was good at the second part. I was good at playing like really fast, like characteristic things of like, jazz players that people loved, but I couldn't play particularly high. I didn't have like the greatest trumpet sound in the world, at least according to people in college. So I really had to stand out in my jazz improvisation, like the different types of notes and colors I would cling to. Being from Memphis, the blues tradition is very strong in pretty much everybody, because everybody goes to church, or everybody, hangs out, on Beale Street or something tangential to that. So I used those types of, I used that tradition to my advantage in terms of the way I expressed music and the way that I played and the way that I wrote. And eventually, the talent caught up. So I was able to fit into certain situations because I was able to sound good at kind of a more rudimentary playing level. But eventually, through some hard knocks and really just taking chances, I got a lot better.
I think. How have you stepped out of line in your life? Has there been a crossroads where you've had to make a decision, right or left? Where have you gone with it, and what's happened?
So yeah, I really identify with that idea of stepping out of line, and kind of in line with the idea that we were just talking about, like how did I, improve as a trumpet player, and what ways did I stand out? Like when I was 24 years old, I got offered a job playing trumpet at the Mirage Hotel in Las Vegas, at the B.B. King's Blues Club. But I would have had to move in 3 days. So I got the phone call that Sunday, and I had to be in Vegas, like set up living there that Wednesday. And I made a really fast split decision. And I went, and it was extremely risky. I think I only had like $1,000. My dad gave me like $200 to help me. And I got there and I found an apartment and got set up. And that was kind of, that I look at that Wednesday as the beginning of the rest of my life, because the club I was playing for, it closed after a bit. I was kind of in a really precarious position, but it really forced me to get involved in the Las Vegas music community, which in terms of trumpet players is very, very, very strong. There were lots of very, very nice people that I was able to reach out to. They were able to talk to me about music, about strictly playing the trumpet just as a machine itself, about how to carry my life in Las Vegas. And I wasn't there long because I took a cruise ship playing gig, not long after that kind of precarious moment. But I look at moving to Las Vegas as kind of a big stepping out of line moment in my past, where this is either going to make me a lot better and do lots of things for my life, or I'm gonna come back to Memphis and have to pick up the pieces. It was a great trial by fire that really gave me a lot and forced me to embrace new perspectives and try new things, and it got me used to moving around, because now I live in Nashville. So anytime I'm no longer afraid of that, like I'm leaving home I don't know anybody in this place. I have to build my life over from scratch type of feeling, because, now I know it's possible. I've done it before.
So that was a gutsy move, obviously. Is that what led you eventually to working with Kelly Clarkson and going on tour with her?
In so many words, yes. It's one of those things that, again, was foundational leading up to playing with Kelly Clarkson. And really playing with Kelly Clarkson, I owe that to Glenn, who, who's the one to, call me and get me involved. There's always, as a musician, there's the moment when you first get called for a job, and getting there and having to make an impression as a player and as a human being, the latter actually being even more important than the former. Again, those moments in Las Vegas, and those moments starting over and rebuilding my life, kind of putting that fear in check, really, really, really informed my time at least at the beginning of the tour with Kelly Clarkson and her band.
It's interesting because people we've spoken to take these chances a lot of times when they're not yet married or have a partner, they don't have kids yet, and it's at that point in their life when they can do these things because it's just yourself. So that's maybe a big part of it also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where when you're young or at a certain point in your life that you can really do these things.
Absolutely. I'm not married and I don't have any children. And that's definitely, if I had children, my life priorities would be completely different. I probably would have already taken on a trade or a new path at this point to make, to do my duty, my responsibility. And thankfully, my responsibility at this point is mostly only to myself. I have a niece and nephew whom I love greatly, and I try to contribute money and contribute my presence and do whatever I can to positively impact their upbringing. But yes, that not being married or having children has been a major factor in being able to take risks, because it's just me.
So how are you finding, because we're still in quarantine, even though the world is coming out of quarantine, how are you finding ways to be creative and create music over the past few months when people aren't going on tour and the clubs yet really aren't open, and it's just been, we're waiting for it all to happen, but it's not happening yet.
So what's interesting about being a musician is we spend so much time playing music as our job that we rarely get to do it for ourselves. And I think the absence of, gig work has helped me. I also sing and play guitar. Oh. So it really helped me, when I get emotionally distraught, sometimes I'll just, it sounds kind of cliche, but I'll just sit in my room with my guitar and just sing and play whatever songs that come to mind. And it's very, it can be very cathartic. It can be very healing. It can be, it's like going through 100 therapy sessions, So one way that I've stayed connected with music during the quarantine has been just that, just sitting down and personally connecting with the music, because reminding myself, like, why did I do this in the first place? Why do I love it so much? What makes music so special to me? And feeling those feelings that can't be described with words by having that personal experience and playing music alone. That's been one of the major things. Another way Another way that I've kind of connected with music has been actually the to call back to the stepping out of line idea. I've been doing a major change on the trumpet. Now, every trumpet player will know what this is, but most people don't know. I'm doing what's called an embouchure change, and it's essentially where you have my trumpet mouthpiece right here. You have where the trumpet mouthpiece sits on your face, essentially, and you can just, in layman's terms, you can just call that an embouchure and the way it sits on your face. Well, that's been a physical hurdle for me over the years. So when the quarantine first started, like when the NBA announced that they were over, I was like, okay, everything's done. I decided to undergo an embouchure change, which is essentially meaning I'm starting over playing the trumpet with the mouthpiece sitting on a different part of my face. And that has been a major stepping out of line moment, because it's a major risk, and I'm still in the middle of it. And working myself back and beyond where I was as a trumpet player. But that has been, musically, that's been the thing consuming most of my mental and physical space and my time.
Why do you do that? Like, why did you make that change? Is it better to play it one way or a different sound? You can reach higher notes?
That's a good question. The way that I played before, I had to work very hard, very, very, very hard, and some would say inefficiently, to produce the sounds that I was making and to be able to play at the level that I was. During the Kelly Clarkson tour, in your average, day, counting sound check and counting like the show, which the show was about 1 hour and 30 minutes long. I was playing close to like 4 hours a day. It wasn't, and granted, a lot of people will say, like, you have, as a trumpet player, you have to do like that, an hour of warm up and foundational stuff just to help stay consistent on the instrument, and you know what to expect when you get on stage in front of 10,000 people. You make all that practice will make the trumpet more of an instinctual, intuitive thing. But even then, I felt like I couldn't always rest completely on the fundamentals I had, and I wanted to, essentially up my game. In so many words, I wanted to be able to go out and enjoy the show like some of the musicians that I looked up to in her band, that were so professional. And I'm sure they had their own individual battles, but like, to me, it looked like they were going out there and they were playing and they were enjoying the show. And, I wanted to take a little bit more of the stress out of the job. Along with that, I've always felt that this was something I needed to do to raise myself to a higher echelon, higher tier of trumpet player. Just in terms of the types of people who who are recording movie soundtracks, or the people who are the first calls for major recording sessions in town. I did not yet feel like I could say that I played at their level, and I do 100% feel like this will help me at least get a little closer, and have a little bit more comfort in my trumpet fundamentals stepping out on stage, without the stress, because I do love how I performed on the Kelly Clarkson tour, and like it was definitely some of the best playing I've done in my life. But now I want to make that habitual. Now I want to make it where it's not, I don't even have to think about it. So if somebody wakes me up in the middle of the night and hands me a trumpet and tells me to, play the whole show from top to bottom, yeah, I can do it. So.
It kind of reminds me when they tell a baseball player just to lift the bat up an inch and hold it differently so they could hit the ball a little better. So you're just, and great baseball players are always doing that. They're always trying to watch the way they hit the ball.
Yep.
You're just hitting the ball a little differently and stronger to make it more efficient. You do the same. Perry says she does the same thing with what? Oh, with walking. She does the same thing with walking.
Exactly.
Because sometimes you waste energy and
changing your gait.
That's amazing. So what plans do you have now coming up in the future once all hell breaks loose and you're out there touring or you're out there playing? What do you hope is going to happen over the next couple of months?
Well, I'm hoping to go and continue doing some of the things that I was doing before quarantine. So I played for a lot of wedding bands, and there were other artists that I toured for, like Ron Pope is an artist who I've been playing with for the past 3 or 4 years. Often his big song is A Drop in the Ocean. And I'm hoping to get back to, I am hoping to get back to touring. I am hoping to get back to playing some of those private events. But as I improve as a musician, I'm hoping to get into new things. Lots of musicians have their home studio setups, and they do arranging and if someone needs horn parts, but they don't want to have to go pay a sound engineer and rent out a whole studio. They can just record their part right there at home and then ship it off to whoever needs it. Looking to do more of that type of work. I'm looking to sing more and play more guitar. Beyond that, it really just depends on what's available. As a trumpet player, I didn't go out and choose the tours and the jobs I was on. They found me. So it's one of those, it's really whatever's available. It's whoever needs someone and then decides that person is me. That's what I'll be doing. I do have a YouTube channel. Yeah, there's if you type in Charles Ray American Idol, I was on American Idol very, very briefly.
What did you make it? Did you make it to Hollywood?
I made it to Hollywood, but no further.
What year was this? Like how many years ago?
I want to say I think it was season 18, and it was 2015. That's its own that's its own story and its own saga.
How long must I hold my breath while I look up to the stars on high and call for help? How long? How long? And I wait for you to decide upon your cloud on high if there's room for two. How long? The smile comes out to me just like a beacon. Oh, makes me pray to gods I don't believe in. Oh no, you feel it too, you come to me for healing. So when you go, just know that I stop breathing. How long must I hold my breath while I look up to the stars on high and call for help? How long? How long that I wait for you to decide upon your cloud on high if there's room for two? how long? You say you want to give to me all. But then I find myself outside your walls. Oh no. In time you say and us will come to be. Oh. At times it doesn't come without a fee. How long must I hold my breath while I look up